Cups. Back there behind the counter is Shay. Shay, say hello.
Hi, guys.
And Natalie in teal over there, the other co-organizer. Behind the camera somewhere in Kansas City is Nancy, our other co-organizer. And again, a lot of people have come up and help us. Dave, again, thank you so much for pitching this morning. Much appreciated. Just by show of hand, I see some new faces. Can you raise your hand if this is your first time at 1 Million Cups? Awesome, thank you. How many of you is the first time here at East End Market? Just, for those, it's great. So first time here and first time to East End Market. Love it. So in a nutshell, you're going to listen to 2 stories from entrepreneurs, their journey, and it's a 6 minutes presentation, roughly 20 minutes Q&A. And what I'm really excited about today is that we launched in September of last year. September on 9/11 we launched, and shortly thereafter a company came and presented, and we're now at the stage where some of the alums are coming back to tell us a little bit where they have been and what has occurred in the last 6 months or so since she's been here. I do want to ask you guys to tweet if you're on Twitter. Go ahead and tweet. Take some pictures, tag. It's called the numeral 1 Million Cups ORL is the tag for Twitter, and so push us out on social media, and then you can hashtag the numeral 1MC, and that also flags it for the other 1 Million Cups organization. We'll talk a little bit more about that during a little break, and without any further ado,
I don't know what first.
Oh, we're having. So, are you ready to go? Yep. So, Alexandra will go second, and we have Bungalower going first. Let's welcome.
Good morning. My name is Matt Broffman. I'm the publisher of Bungalower.com. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, we're a local news website. We cover what's happening in downtown Orlando and the surrounding neighborhoods. I'll talk a little about what that geography actually looks like and how it came to be. This is our homepage this morning. We produce about anywhere from 2 to 5 stories every day. Complete disclaimer, every time I say we, it's really just me. I came from the corporate world, and that's just out of habit. I constantly do it, and I feel like I'm lying sometimes, but it's just me. So this morning's story, for example, was on the city's remodeling City Commons Plaza. We cover a lot of growth and development type of stories, and so that means new businesses opening, new buildings, the things you care about. And we'll talk here a little bit about how we got there. So quickly, my background. I went to the University of Missouri Journalism School, always thought I was going to do broadcast journalism. Ended up doing the online side, working for a newspaper. I spent 5 years at the Tribune Company, which owns the Orlando Sentinel and about 7 other newspapers. Worked with them on the online side, trying to help find a sustainable model for local news online. And unfortunately, we haven't solved that problem at Tribune. Most newspapers have not solved that problem. This is a continuation of that work, which led me to the Reynolds Journalism Institute for a 1-year fellowship. Kind of model out what this kind of a website looks like and how it can be sustainable. So I kind of mentioned that we haven't figured out how to make it work, and there's a variety of reasons for that. So if you look at the 2 key players in local news, online they tend to be newspaper websites. Predominantly, the majority of the revenue for a website is coming from advertising. And that presents a huge problem because with advertising, you're focused on your reach. And so they're constantly trying to reach more and more and more people, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're writing the right kind of content. You're also trying to create cheaper content to reach more people. And so if you go to the homepage of any of the newspaper sites in most of the country, you'll see a heavy emphasis on photo galleries, feature content, entertainment, things that people are going to click on to get more ad revenue versus actually building a brand. The problem with the consumer revenue side of it is that they've got the print business. The print business is aging and honestly, as we know, is actually dying. And their print consumers, they're so held on to them that they are unable to actually attract a new consumer. So it's a constant problem newspapers face, which is how do you build a new product that would attract the consumer without alienating your current consumer. Very few have figured that out. There are some exceptions across the country. TV websites, their problem is that they're still making money on their broadcast business, so this isn't a huge emphasis to them. It's clear if you look at the corporate structure and local TV site or even the corporate side, how the online and interactive people have very little authority to actually make the change that might need to be made to make a TV website successful. So we've got a big problem, and that's that people aren't willing to pay for local news. If you look at what the Sentinel's tried or any of the Tribune sites, or really almost half of the newspaper sites across sustainable future. The reality is a lot of us try and blame the consumer. A lot of us try and say, well, people just don't care. People don't care about local news. I don't believe that. I think people do care about what's happening in the neighborhood. I think we have to be writing our content and delivering it to them the right way. So we take a look at what works. Right? We all know there are sports websites, there are politics websites, there's even gardening websites. You can pick whatever niche you want, and there's probably a successful, profitable website out there doing that. So why is it that we can take a national audience and segment it by an interest and make that successful, but we can't take a national audience and segment it by a geography and make that successful? And the reality is because all of those have a set audience. They're writing for that audience. If you take the Central Florida region, it's hard to define us. Because if you live in Kissimmee, you don't necessarily care what's happening with Dr. Phillips. Yet you have one website to go to find out what's happening in your area. So what we've seen happen in local sites, and what we've seen work, is large metro areas. So there are DC neighborhood websites. There are New York neighborhood websites. There are San Francisco neighborhood websites who are successful. By that I mean there's someone running who's making a profit, who's making a salary that most of us would be happy to have. And those might even be, there's some that actually cover all of Chicago, for example, or cover all of Chicago, and they'll cover, and by that I mean the downtown core area, or they'll cover all of DC and the downtown core of DC. We also see very successful small town websites. So whether that's a newspaper that now has a website in a small town, or somebody who's launched in a small town just an online-only product. They're very successful. Why? Because if you live in a small town, everyone in that small town cares about what's happening in that small town. The problem we run into is with folks like Orlando, where we're in a mid-sized market, where I launched a site that just covered downtown, and by that I mean our 2 mile by 2 mile kind of block of downtown. There's not enough people to sustain a successful website. Even if I went to one of our largest neighborhoods like College Park and launched a website just for College Park, it's still not enough audience to make it profitable. And so when I decided that I wanted to launch a website in Orlando, I started looking at those geographies. What I ended up settling on, by coincidence, I didn't find this out until after the fact, is the downtown neighborhoods. And when I started looking at it, we realized that the #1 distinguishing feature of those neighborhoods was that they were bungalow neighborhoods. And so that's where we came up with the name Bungalower. It also turns out the city recognizes that district. They call it the traditional city. So it's the pre-World War II era city limits, the original city limits of Orlando, and it's actually protected from a historical standpoint, protected area from a design and development standpoint. So you'll notice that's where you don't see parking lots in front of buildings in this area. You see them behind buildings or next to buildings. There's certain city codes about what they can and can't do in this area, and it helps define, for those of us who live in Ottawa Park, College Park, Middlesbrough, these areas, it helps define why we live here and the neighborhood feel that we like. So that's the area we cover for Bungalower. And when we look at what we cover, it varies a little bit from what you might expect in a normal newspaper. And I started with my breakfast text. So I go to breakfast about every weekend with a group of friends, and we always talk about what's happening in the city. And so I kind of use this. If it's not something that I would actually talk to my friends about, I'm not going to write about it. And it sounds silly, but look at how many other websites you go to, and you see all these stories that you don't care about. We try to only write about things that we think people care about. That means that it's relevant. We also don't do feature or trend pieces. And by that I mean, if we were another website or magazine, we might write a story about how there are all these boot camps opening up in the Bungalower area. It would be a great story, it would be interesting, it would be relevant for most people. We don't write about that. The main reason is I don't have the time to write about that. That would take me a whole day and a half or a day to write about that, and I'm putting out 2 to 5 stories every day. It turns out that's actually helped our brand, because people come here to get quick information, but not reading long-form pieces. And with that, our focus is not on page use. So if you look at most news websites, what they're looking at staring at the newsroom, and I help push this into a lot of our tribute newsrooms, is this idea that we want to focus on what content is getting traffic right now. What I realized is it's not about what's getting traffic right now, it's what content is going to get people to come back to us tomorrow. So we're really focused on building a brand of Bungalower and what we cover. About the content, you'll look, it's really written to inform, not to entertain. We don't do, like I said, long-form stories. I cut out a lot of quotes. I don't go and interview man on the street. So a great example, this story here is Department of Transportation looking to improve Orange Avenue. My story, as you can see, is here's what we do. Here's a bullet point list of things they want to change. The Sentinel, and a great reporter, wrote a story, and it's typical newspaper story in that they went out and interviewed someone who lives in downtown South. It started with Mary Jane lives in downtown South and struggles every day to drive down Orange Avenue because of all the traffic. Well, guess what? If you live in the Bungalow area, you know there's a struggle to drive down Orange Avenue. I don't have to find somebody to tell you that. So it saves me time because I don't have to spend time getting these interviews that, quite honestly, don't bring a lot of information forward, and instead it helps you out because you can just get the information. Very quickly, we've seen great traffic growth. We reach about 20 to 30,000 visitors a month. It's been tremendous. There's a lot of question about whether a site like this could work in Orlando. And so far, from an audience perspective, it's working. The problem is generating revenue. So this is a quote from Steve Waldman at Pointer, really focused on this idea that it's tough to drive revenue from local. We talked about how you can build a larger audience to get those advertising revenue. So quickly, the options are nonprofit. I immediately had put that out the door because I called the 4 main nonprofit online only newspapers. Every single one of them told me we're trying to figure out how to go for profit. So that's probably not a good idea. Online advertising, you're competing with Google and Facebook who are charging, I ran an ad for another organization, $40 to reach everyone in 32804, which is College Park, 4 times. I can't compete with that. So eventually when everyone figures that out, these small businesses will go to Facebook and Google, not to me. Events are great. We'll see a lot of bloggers are doing events to help generate revenue. At the end of the day, though, you become an event company, that becomes your focus. So we wanted to figure out how can we do something where our focus is still on providing local value. The consumer revenue piece is where I think that comes in, but we know consumers will pay for content. So what we're going to be launching in the next couple months is a membership product. This is membership product right now. We're calling it Bungalower membership. It's simple. It'll be $10 a month. With that, our goal is to drive at least $10 worth of value to you every month. You're not paying for content because we know that for the most part, even though you value content, we're never going to get you to value $10 worth of content. So you get a monthly envelope in the mail every month. It'll be a nice looking envelope or a nice Bungalower blue. In it will be a $10 gift certificate to a local restaurant, a nice end restaurant. Think Restaurant K, Citrus, that kind of a restaurant. There'll also be these Explore cards, which will be the new restaurants and bars and clubs that open up or new shops. So it'll be an offer value for them to go out there and try it. So it might be a free appetizer, a free glass of wine, or whatever it might be, to give you that excuse, as I say, to go out and try all the things you read about and always think you want to go to. And then we're also looking at maybe 3 to 4 times a year providing an actual neighborhood guide for a different neighborhood within the Bungalower district. So it'll be a nice printed guide, I think look like a Bungalower's guide to Audubon Park Garden, which is get it, and there'll be all sorts of stuff in there and value from that. And then we're looking at other values. There's a lot of things we're talking to different partners about to give you local value. So this is kind of our current concept that we're working on. Our goal is to launch in May. We do have, for those that are interested in it, and we would love your help if you wanted to try it out. As you guys know, building an e-commerce shop is probably not easy. So we've got something up. You go to bungalower.com/membership. You can kind of reserve your spot. If you want to use a discount code, but only use it if you're actually going to provide feedback. So the feedback we're looking for is this something that's interest to you? Is this something, are there other things that we could provide that you would find value in? And then also feedback as you go through the process. If you run into any issues, was there information you wanted to know, things like that. And do you want to pay for content? So, is there certain types of content that as a member now you'd like access to? And the last and final thing is, if you do sign up or don't sign up, you can send me an email with why you did or didn't. We're looking to understand what it is that gets people to sign up or what the reason is that you wouldn't sign up. So you can do that even if you decide to or not to. That's my information, so feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.
I'll jump in.
Yeah.
I think this is really exciting. So your audience, your target audience is me, a baby boomer. I'm a bungalower, I live in Baby Park. I hate the paper, stupid soda thing. I have no offense to anyone who soda. It's full of ads. It's like, this is really cool. But I also see an extension of your brand by being a bungalower. I would love to wear a t-shirt or have a button or a coffee cup or something that's a bungalower. And then where does that go? Then you can have bungalow meetups.
How'd you come up with $10 for the membership?
So part of my fellowship, I spent a year researching, for newspapers, researching digital memberships. $9.95, actually it's $9.95, I say $10, it's $9.95. And the reason is it's, so you don't see it on your credit card statement. Just know from a psychological standpoint, when you review your credit card statement, an extra digit sticks out, and you notice it. So not that I don't want you to know that you're a member, but every time you're reminded, especially when you're reminded that you get that credit card statement at the end of the month with the total, you're looking for the things that you can eliminate, and so we don't want to be one of those things. That's why Netflix, Hulu, everyone is $9.95. I didn't run tests, but we've seen results from when they ran $9.95 versus $10. And it's not worth the extra 5 cents. Yeah.
Have you thought about doing a discounted, like, one-time annual? So if someone wants to give you, maybe a discount on it, or?
I've thought about it. I mean, it's interesting. The difficulty is the renewal. So I hope that the average lifetime of one of our members is 2.5 years, would be what I hope. More than that is fantastic. And so if you think 2.5 years, if it's $10 a month, and so even if you say, okay, well, it's $100 for the year, that means on that 1 year renewal, you're going to get a bill on your credit card statement for $100. And there's a lot of issues also from a legal standpoint and from an ethical standpoint of what we need to do to remind you before that hits. So we might do it, but it will take us some time to kind of figure out what that notification has to look like. Yeah, I think it's if somebody wants to give me all their money now and not wait, I would be foolish to say no.
Hey, have you thought about like creating a small app for outlets that can push to your website and maybe you can send some notifications or whatever? I just love excellent promotions.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm talking with a local app development company about building an app that would be only for members. So if you sign up as a member, you're not getting extra content, but now you can have an iPhone app, an Android app, or a tablet app that will do the push notifications either in total for a specific neighborhood or for a specific topic. Because I think that's the one thing. The feedback that I get the most negative things about is that they didn't read the story about whatever because they didn't see it. So we push 3 stories a day, and so if you're coming once a week, it's sometimes tough to make sure you're seeing it. A lot of people follow us on Facebook, and as you guys know, Facebook doesn't show every post to everyone. Yeah.
Not a question. I just want to let you know my wife loves your website. She gives me the clip notes every day.
Thank you.
You got a fan at my house.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
So, it's a two-part question. How do you get the stuff that you're going to be giving out in your membership? People donate, or businesses donating, or?
Yeah, so there's no charge to businesses to participate. So anybody who's a business owner is interested. The way that I look at it is a business owner, let's say, normally would have given $5 off and paid to have that sent direct mail to people's homes. So we're going to go back to them and say, well, instead of $5 you're paying, give us $10. You don't have to pay. And oh, by the way, we're only going to send it to the audience you're looking to reach, which is an audience that can afford $10 a month of a Bungalower membership. So it self-weeds out the folks that they may not be interested in reaching. And so far, the feedback we've gotten from, we've talked to some businesses and some restaurants, and they're excited. Their big concern is that we'll get too big to where they don't want to give out that many in 1 month. So we're trying to balance how we do that.
So the other part of my question is, the sort of journalistic, I think, firewall issues.
Yep.
Because as you said, it's just you, so you can't have like your promotions department, and so you're essentially relying on the goodwill of the folks you're covering as a journalist. So
Yep.
how do you keep that objectivity going?
So that's a great question. So a couple things. We have an association called Lion, which is the local independent online news association, which I'm an associate member of because of the way that you're a full member.
Can you say that again?
Local independent online news, Lion. And so they have struggled with this problem because most are single-man or 2-man shops running a local news site. And they're out selling advertising. Almost all of them, except for me, plan to get all of their revenue from advertising. And I have to say that one of the reasons that I came up with this concept was there was nothing worse from a journalist to stand there at a restaurant that's about to open and say, hey, we're interested in covering you, and oh, by the way, do you want to buy an ad? Like, no matter how much you try and separate those two conversations, you can't. And it became really upsetting. But what I would see, and so I wouldn't ask for the ad, which is not a great business move, but I wouldn't ask for the ad because I didn't like the way that came off. So they, of course, would say, hey, why don't you come back and you guys can try whatever. And so it made me realize these are, bloggers, as some of you know, get lots of free stuff. For journalism reasons, I turn that down. And so that's when I said, well, how do I take that free stuff and give that to our members? And that's how this concept kind of started. And so it's a much easier conversation to say, hey, we're going to write a story about your site. Wouldn't it be great if you could give our readers or our members a free appetizer if they came in after seeing this article? And if they say no, I mean, yes, they could potentially perceive that we might not write an article about them, but that's not the case. We also don't, as most of you know who read, we don't give our opinion on the restaurant. We don't give our opinion on the city's putting something in City Hall. I don't say whether I think it's ugly, good looking, whatever. I just, here's what it is. So there's a less of an inclination, but it's still, it's a tough balance. So I hope that people will keep me on check. Yep.
So when you're looking at the revenue model, do you take a look at the premium model?
Yeah, so that's, I spent 2 years convincing newspapers that's what they should be doing. And I love the idea. So the idea there is that you're basically, there's two concepts. One is there's good articles, premium articles, and there's commodity articles. And so the premium articles you charge for, the commodity articles are free. The other model is there's a meter, so you get 10 free a month. The problem with 10 free a month is if on the 11th one it's a crappy article, so on a regular site, let's say you clicked on a crime story, right? And it says pay $9.85 a month to read our article. I just want to find out what this murder, I'm not going to pay $9.85 to find out what a traffic accident was. So I'm a big fan of the premium model. And the problem is, I know that everyone, I love my content, I think it's great. It's tough to convince people to pay for this type of content. Now, if we did more feature-oriented stories, or we did those kind of things, we may hire a reporter exclusively to cover those things that would only be available to our premium members, if that's what we see the demand.
What if you just made the cool stuff? She was talking about maybe it's photos, maybe it's just coupons, that's the premium side. That's the coolest stuff if you're a premium member.
Yeah, and I've actually looked at it, and the technology's not there, and something I'd love to do is to maybe make it either charge for the first 24 hours, or make it free for the first 24 hours. So in other words, if you visit our site every day, it's still free, because you'll get all the articles. But if you skip a day and you want to go back to read yesterday's articles, you have to pay for it. So we're rewarding you for coming more often, which helps if I'm getting some revenue from advertising, and it helps the brand. So I've looked at balancing those things. It's also tough because I'm a blog format, so everything shows up on the homepage. You don't have to click through to an article, so you can kind of get the gist of everything. So we would have to change that concept too, which isn't a problem. But yeah, I think that down the road, if I can drive enough members to where I don't care about the people who aren't paying me, then yeah, I can do that. But on day one, to alienate the 20,000 people on one day is tough. Yeah.
So what insights have you drawn from your audience?
In terms of,
How would you describe it?
so the demographics, 25 to 45, high income, high education. Most of them live in the downtown area we cover. We see very little overlap with traditional news sites. So there's a core piece of the audience, which are the news hounds that are going to every local news site, no matter what they are, which is great. But most of our audience doesn't go to, whether it's 307 or OBJ or things like that. Beyond that, they're very pro-growth. So if you look at the comments on my site versus the comments on any other local news site, we cover the same story, they're drastically different. People are excited about the things that are happening in Orlando. And part of that is I write from a positive viewpoint. I don't mean that, again, it's not an opinion, but we'll write, hey, here's what's happening. A great example is limos coming in downtown, they're adding a new route, they're moved 12 parking spaces. My story was, limos coming in downtown will mean some parking changes. Channel 9, I love the folks at Channel 9, you're good friends of mine, runs a story, and the tease is, parking downtown is already difficult, and it's about to get a lot worse. So it's a different mindset, and so we're attracting the reader that's interested in finding out the good things happening downtown. Sure.
Is there a way to, since you're localized and we're community-based, is there a way to drive traffic to your site by having some kind of partnership with local restaurants where people want a month membership, they go eat at that restaurant and they're given a special code, and that way you can drive traffic and maybe advertising revenue from the restaurants that you partner up with?
So you're saying like a way that they would...
So they would get like a free month membership to your site if they go to this local restaurant in their community to eat, and that restaurant would give them some kind of a code to sign up.
Yeah, anybody who's done e-commerce knows that the affiliate model, which is essentially that, but in the physical world, is important. So we're looking at the best way to do that, because again, it's $10 a month. I don't mind, sharing a lot, but I don't mind giving my first month of that's why you see Hulu does it, Netflix. I mean, everyone does that because it works, right? So getting someone to sign up on day one is the most important thing. Retaining them is the other side of that.
I'm going to interrupt. I apologize. Matt is going to be here and will stay for the event. So by all means, connect with him, Matt. Again, in the tradition of 1 million cups, and I know you've already had a few asks for the members of the audience, but if there was one specific thing that we as an audience could do for you, as a community could do for you, what would that be?
I mean, other than share, obviously share the site, but really provide feedback. I love when people write in to ask questions, give feedback on what they're seeing on the site or on the membership. I do this because I love Orlando and I love news, so help me make it better.
Thank you. For those of you that are standing, there are chairs in the front, and no, we won't point to you to ask questions. So we need to relive the fears from school. So come on down and fill out the chairs. There's fresh coffee, nice and brewed, so grab some. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things around here. First of all, this venue is provided to us by East End Market. So John Wright, the founder of East End Market, is right here. So without him, which dovetails very nicely into the please heed our warnings and our requests about parking. If you are not signed up on our website, please sign up. You'll get newsletters and information on a weekly basis as to who's going to be hosting, who's going to be presenting, and some of the requests that we have for you. So please be careful as to where you park, because if you may get towed, and there's nothing we can do about that. So please pay attention to that. Coffee has been provided to us by Lineage Roasters, which is downstairs. So on the way out, stop by, say thank you. Without them, no coffee. So very important. And if you want to get some more coffee, buy some coffee to take home. They'll get it. You get a little discount if you mention 1 million cups. So share that with them, and again, say thank you. And Joy Caster, right back there. Will you raise your hand for a second, please? Back there in the corner behind the camera. This is a really cool platform that Rinny has launched. He will be presenting one of these days, but it's a syndicator of live streaming. So if you think about it, you go to one place and push your videos out on all the appropriate channels at one time, and he's donating his time and his expertise to help us live stream. Real quickly, before we dive back into the next presentation, I want to talk to you about some of the events that are happening in Central Florida that I'm aware of. If I'm not aware of them, come and tell one of us, and we'll be happy to share with the community. First thing is Starter Studio has its new class coming up. They have a Kickstarter campaign. So if you're interested in joining an incubator, accelerator, co-working space environment to help your creative juices flow, reach out, Starter Studio. You can find them online. And if you want to donate, go on their Kickstarter campaign. The second thing is Startup Weekend event is an awesome opportunity for entrepreneurs to come and learn from each other, pitch their idea, find out if it has any validity. We're doing a social entrepreneurship one, a social enterprise, which means do good and do well at the same time. And that will be at Rollins College on March 28th, 29th, 30th. The website is active. It's Orlando Social, startupweekend.org. So check that out. And we'd love to have you come on and sign up. It's cool. Again, at Rollins, and we have some really cool speakers, awesome mentors, and great ideas on how we can do two things at the same time, make money and help the world. What a great concept. And then shortly after that, in May, we're going to have our first Lean Startup Machine event in Orlando. And so reach out to me. That will be probably the third weekend of May. And it's a great way to also figure out how to make sure that your idea, your concept, your process makes sense before you actually spend millions of dollars trying to build it. It's a great approach. It's not the if you build it, they will come approach is, does anybody care? So reach out to us. We'll talk to you more about it. And now without any further ado, if we're ready, Alexandra, you ready?
I just want to say that here we are a Mac-centered family. This young lady, as sweet as she is, came with a PC. Shame on you. But I've converted it over, but if it does not work pristinely, blame me, not her. Her message is impeccable, so please listen.
Thank you.
attended, ended up getting approved for financing, and got this machine installed in December. Just got the jig, which was that little thing to put the buttons in. So now we can print individual, like if we wanted to do an individual design on every single button, we could print like 200 plus small and over 100 large all at once, which takes about an hour. And that's with me doing 2 coats of color on each side, or for each thing. And so this is kind of the answer we've been looking for. So since we did that, and since we got our jig about a month ago, we've already diversified completely to kind of tackle all these different customers and see kind of what takes. So we've done everything from Greek and, as you can see, holiday, style, sports, and different supportive button covers. And this machine allows us to kind of see what takes. And if no one buys a Greek button cover, fine, we don't make anymore. We only made one set for that. If they don't like it, then no big deal. And it's not a huge cost. Creating more of an agile product rather than just this one product that we had to push around at the time. So now we can kind of send out samples, and the best part is now we have the ability to do custom buttons. And if you send us your logo, we have the ability to print it on there. We've already been contacted by Essex County Chiefs of Police about 2 weeks ago. They wanted to order 200 units for their officers for their cufflinks, because not everyone has a shirt that has cufflinks and they're expensive, and you can just slide these on your buttons. So they're having a meeting about that today. We should hopefully find out this week. But either way, we're already getting validation from the customers saying that this is something they're interested in. And we have the ability to make samples for them, as you can see in that top corner, so they can get an immediate sense of what it is instead of trying to visualize a button cover, because people need to see it. It's a new product. So, and the great part about this printer is that we can do things other than button covers. And so, hey buddy. We have the ability to do other things, and so now we can add, say, cell phones, which is something customers are already looking for, to drive them to our website. And we can do custom ones. Like this is an example. I took a picture of my dad's girlfriend's bag. She's holding it up right there, and I'm going to make a custom cell phone case for her, just by a picture of her favorite bag. So this printer is pretty amazing, and now it has the ability to draw people, which is our biggest issue, is kind of getting to our audience and getting to our customers and finding channels to market, because no one's actively searching for button covers. You probably had never even thought about it until today. So hopefully not all people will. And go to our website to help our SEO. And so that is kind of like where we're going now, and what the improvements we've made since the last time we presented, and the changes we've been making. The ask that we have for you guys, there's 4 things. Channels to market, we need help with. Channels to market. Channels to market. And channels to market. So that is our biggest thing that we need help with, is kind of getting in front of people, getting those larger orders. If you getting to companies who might need marketing swag for a convention coming up, even if you just want to hand something out. We can make from 1 box now to hundreds, and we, of course, we order. It's $9.95. Again, that magic number is the $10 he was talking about. $9.95 for a box of 6 small or 4 large. Of course, we give deep discounts for bulk ordering. So that is kind of our big thing we need help with. The team includes myself and my partner Tripp, who just finally got his PhD at UCF in human factor psychology. So we came up with the idea together, and we split everything financially in the beginning, but I handle all the business operations. 52% ownership, so it's a women-owned business. And he is currently working with a firm, but still stays involved with everything. And these are all of our handles, so follow us, like us. You get 30% off on Facebook if you like us. And if you subscribe on our website, you also get 30% off. So we offer lots of discounts. And tweet us, follow us, and that is button covers. if we get a custom order for like say 10 boxes, we can get that done that day. We'll probably confirm, it'll probably take a day of communication just to confirm things. Eventually we want to have it so people can just upload, if anyone's familiar with Fathead, the company where you can, the big pop-ups. For my presentation at UCF, I actually uploaded a picture of Trip and had a big cutout of him for the presentation. That's what I want to be able to do for people is upload their logo, choose their size, their color, and then have it printed that day and sent down. That way it's pretty set and done. That's our goal. We just don't have the ability with our current website.
So can you handle 100,000 pieces?
100,000 pieces, we would probably get that big because it'd be faster just to get that manufactured in China. But this allows us to do, we can do hundreds, probably 3,000, just take, depending on how many you want, I can't give a set number because it's a big difference between one box versus 1,000 boxes. It'd probably take a week though. Yes?
What's an average client worth to you, and have you been able to build a client profile around that you can target?
A current client, what is their worth? That's a good question. It depends because we're so new at this custom order and we only just got our first potential client for large orders. It depends on how, because we've had people interested in one box and then we just met the Seafold also and they're interested in hundreds of boxes. So it just depends on how many. The larger the corporation, the more they generally want. So it depends on the client themselves and how much. I don't know. I have to think about that. I don't have a definite answer for you on that one.
That's certainly something to consider. The other thing I would look at too is, if you can figure out what that target is and then build your profile around that. Like even maybe if you could say, who's your biggest client, or what was the biggest order, the best client that you would, what would be your dream client?
My dream client, like if we could get SeaWorld or say Apple or like a huge corporation that has a convention coming up
And just consistently.
and consistently have, because the margin wouldn't be as much, but we would, just having that many and getting them out to more people to see the product is also really great. So it's nice to have the clients ordering, say like 10, but ideally a large corporation for conventions and such would be our ideal client for custom covers. Or even just uniforms that the SeaWorld would have their employees wear. So. Yes? You.
You actually sort of piggybacking on that, have you been approached by anyone regarding a concert or festival market?
Not yet.
I think going to clubs with the wristbands, this could be an alternative to that. I think of going to Orlando is home of the Orlando Fringe Festival where we have passes and stuff. Instead of having to find my pass or my band, I just point to something on my collar. Have you been approached by anyone?
Not yet. But that's a great idea because I would love to just approach them myself. Just because again we're new and this has become a new option. And it's great because now I can make samples and show them. That's a great idea though with the Fringe Festival.
I would suggest that you're looking into the Orlando Fringe Festival.
That's a great idea. Thank you. Yes. Oh wait.
I think, if I remember correctly, you said you had a patent pending on this?
Yes.
Would you consider licensing this out to larger companies?
Yes. I'm open to anything. I'm not going to guess. After my television experience, I'm open to any options. So yes.
Two things. One, I have a clothing company here in town. I've been trying to do buttons for so long, so we're going to chat.
Okay.
And two, what would you say you wish you would have done before getting to this refill point? For other entrepreneurs that are trying to...
Oh my goodness. I wish I would have done everything opposite of what I did. I wish I wouldn't have tackled the licensing market first because it's not conducive to a startup company. And I had like googly eyes on where I was like, oh, it's fine, they'll support an entrepreneur. Not the case. They were not happy with me. And I ended up going on LinkedIn and buying a premium account just so I could email the founder of the licensing company. Like, why is no one helping me? And so I would have not done licensing to start out with because it's kind of like the chicken or the egg with them. They want to see proof of concept, but if you don't prove for licensing, you can't do that yet. So I wish I would have been more open-minded to other technologies at the time and other than just getting this one product, this collegiate product out. I wish I would have been more open to this machine that we got because this has pretty much solved most of our problems. So.
Have you considered like reaching out to like the larger nonprofit, like awareness organizations because this could be used as fundraising? People like to show that they're supporting an organization.
Yes.
So they would wear
We actually ended up doing a crowdfunding campaign to get our bling buttons done, but with breast cancer awareness.
I'd like to reinforce that first comment that was made about ASI, the Advertising Specialty Institute.
Yes.
That is a great way to have thousands of people all over the country be your sales force. So you want to be a manufacturer in there. I don't know if there's a difference between just being an ASI member selling versus manufacturing, but that'd be an incredible outlet for you.
I agree. I'm really bummed I did not know about or learn about it sooner, because I didn't hear about it or find out about it until like right at the last minute. So now I'm making a lot of efforts to make that happen for next year. But I agree. It would be like our dream to be able to go in there and talk to everyone. Yes.
You should consider looking at the public radio and public TV stations, because, we're always looking for the next mug or tote bag or whatever that has your station on it to give out for your $60 pledge or whatever it is. So, I'm sure there could be a market there too.
Yes.
What are you going to take investment? Because you
we
get
have to
everybody
make
in
some
this room
fix
just
more
gave
money.
you a sales pitch of who to sell to. So
brought lots of business cards? So
Yes.
Great. So before we break, first of all, let's thank. A couple quick requests to the community. If you have a wireless mic that you can bring to the event, we'd love to have it so that way the live streaming would be even more effective. We have several people that have been watching this, so hi guys. But it would be helpful if we had a mic or the ability to amplify the sound. So that's the first thing. The second thing is come back next week, bring more friends, tell people to come and apply. We need startups. We want more people to come and tell their journey, their story, their experiences so that we can all learn and we can all, pull our efforts together to help them get to the next stage. So thank you very much again.
Wait. Yeah. If you guys don't mind, we're getting a shit ton of angry tenants downstairs because of parking. This is an awesome problem to have that you're all here, but so they don't stay pissed off at me, please buy something from them on the way out. So I can be like, it's worth it to have them up because there's ROI on the parking problem. So buy a juice, buy something, say we're sorry for the parking, but we'll be back next week every Wednesday and buy something.
All right, so buy some stuff from the
As you posted it, could we go over where we can park, because part of it is...
You're parked exactly where you should be, there's just too many of you. Good problem to have, but I can't make everybody happy, so if we can find a happy medium to where the tenants at least know you're supportive too, that'd be great.
Start valet. Thanks, guys.
The next one.